Okay, so welcome everybody to the Istio community meetup. My name is Maria Cruz. I'm a program manager in the Google Open Source Program Office. And here today we have Niraj Kodar, who is going to be presenting the latest developments for the last release of Istio, or the release that is coming up. But Niraj is going to tell us more. And I think we can see your screen, Niraj, so whenever you want to start, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Maria. Hello, everyone. I'm Neeraj. I'm the co-founder and chief architect at Aspen Mesh. I've also been a long-time maintainer and contributor of Istio project, and I'm currently on the TOC and steering committee. So I'm excited to talk about all the new and exciting features that are in Istio 1.8. So before we go into it, I want to make sure everyone is aware of the 1.8 status. The Istio community is working really hard to get 1.8 out today. Probably it will be out while I'm presenting because I know some of the folks are working on it. We had to make sure we've addressed some of the last blocking quality issues, and that's what caused a few days delay in the release. With that, I'll get started on what's new in Istio 1.8. First off, the release itself was a community effort. It took a lot of effort from contributors across different organizations. So I just did some Git commands to surface this information, which is we have 1,025 plus new commits since release 1.7. So that's a lot of commits added by all the maintainers. And in Istio, each of these commits mostly tie back to a pull request, because in a pull request, you can have lots of commits which we all squash and merge. So this, even if this number seems low for a 3.5 month effort, it's a lot of pull requests and a lot of code changes that I've gotten. There are 110 plus unique contributors from several different organizations that have worked for Istio 1.8 release. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to the release managers who I'm guessing have not joined this presentation since they are working hard to get the release out. Greg Hansen from IBM and Peter Bian from Google, they have helped the community shepherd this release, also making sure that the quality and the stability is maintained while the new features are added. So kudos to their efforts, and I'm excited that we are going to have a really good release. So moving ahead, the key focus areas for Istio 1.8 release were stability, user experience, and some of the new features that we wanted to add. In stability, we were focused on promoting the existing features. So we have a feature escalation process in feature maturity process in Istio, where if a feature comes in as experimental or alpha, we make them beta and then stable. So as the community has a lot of contributions from different organizations and different people, we want to make sure we take a step back and promote features at the same time we are adding new capabilities, right? Improving quality, adding tests, and improving our documentation has always been one of the key areas of focus. And then making sure we have security as a key core principle for Istio discovery. Moving from a microservices control plane to monolith in Istio, I think it was done like in 1.6 or 1.7. It is good for operational simplicity, but we want to make sure we are still following the principle of least privileges, and we don't have access to things that we don't need, right? For user experience, we have made a lot of improvements around installation. Another focus has been to make sure the whole ecosystem of Istio grows, and two of the main aspects of that is continuing to have virtual machine integration and making it better and seamless, so that legacy applications, as organizations are migrating on Kubernetes and Istio, they can bring their virtual machines along into the service mesh. We have expanded the multi-cluster use cases, made improvements in the documentation, so that as companies are, as organizations are growing, they can actually expand their mesh and have more and more clusters and workloads in them. And then focus on diagnostic tools so that we can surface to our users if they are having issues in their mesh, how can they quickly get all the information and debug it, right? So this is obviously an ongoing effort. It has been continuing for quite a few releases, and it will continue even in 1.9. But 1.8 has some significant improvements in these areas, which I will highlight in my next slide. And the new features that we have added, again, this is not an exhaustive list by any means. There are quite a few new features, but two things that I wanted to highlight was from the telemetry point of view, we have added support for open tracing and the open tracing agent, in addition to the existing support for Jaeger, Stackdriver, and Zipkin. And then in the security authorization side of things, there is a new policy audit command where you can actually see what would have happened. Oh, actually, this is the audit one. So in this, you can log and look at your authorization policies and inspect as requests are getting rejected or accepted, right? So this gives you this solves another puzzle in the whole policy enforcement and your compliance journey. So these are some of the few highlights I have for Istio 1.8 release. The first one, which I'm really excited to talk about, is Helm v3 support is back. So for those who have watched and been on the Istio journey from early days, you know that Helm was the main tool for installing and upgrading Istio. Helm 2 obviously had some security issues, so we had taken back Helm 2 support, and then in the releases from 1.6, 1.7, and now 1.8, we have introduced things like Istio Sqtl based support, operator based support, but now I'm excited that in 1.8 we are supporting Helm v3. The good thing about all these three installation mechanisms is underneath they use the same exact Helm charts for Istio discovery, base, and gateways. So you get the same underlying components and customizations, just your install workflow is different. And this was specially added back based on popular demands. We had been conducting user surveys. The user experience working group has been doing an excellent job of gathering feedback, and we had heard that many of the users are using Helm in their existing environments to install and manage the lifecycle of other applications. They have integrations of Helm, for example, with Terraform, and taking away Helm had prevented them from doing upgrades or moving to newer versions of Istio. So this is exciting. The current support for Helm in 1.8 will be alpha, and I look forward to getting feedback from folks as what more enhancements they want, so we can make improvements in 1.9 or even in patch releases in 1.8, right? The second interesting feature is Proxy DNS Interception. Again, it's a new feature, it's in alpha. So the key benefit here is the sidecar proxy can now be configured to intercept DNS requests and resolve those requests. So this gives you capabilities of better integration and routing capabilities for virtual machines or multi-cluster, where previously for discovering those services, you will have to provide some extra configuration or have like an Istio core DNS plugin. Now you don't need them anymore. So again, it's a really exciting feature. It's in early state. We are going to improve it as new releases are produced, but we look forward to feedback from the community on this and the users. The virtual machine bootstrapping is, or it's called bootstrapping or auto registration, is the new feature that we added, where you can add your virtual machines by using some Istio-Ctl commands into the mesh, and then the sidecar prox, and that tooling transfers over all the files and configuration needed for the sidecar proxies next to your VMs to auto-register in the mesh. So it simplifies the whole workflow of adding and expanding your mesh to virtual machines. The secret discovery service, SDS, which is the default way of discovering secrets in Istio since 1.6, since we removed file-based secret discovery, is now running in Istio-D. So the reason this is important is previously the SDS server was running an Istio agent, which runs inside as a separate process in the Istio proxy container. And the Istio agent used to talk to the Istio discovery service just for signing the certificates. This move makes the security model better, where specifically for gateways, you don't have to provide all the secrets that the gateway needs, but Istio-D can rather look at those secrets, look at the specific secrets which a gateway needs, load it up, and only pass those secrets down to the gateway proxy. So it's from the user perspective, it does not change any behaviors in your system, but it just makes it more secure. The next improvement, which I'm also really excited about, is the Sqctl bug report tool. So many of our users who file issues in Istio, or they ask for help in Discuss and Slack, we often seen that our developers need to have a bunch of back and forth to get all the information before they can actually help them. So this tool is a great way of grabbing all the information from your cluster or for a specific pod, so that in one single snapshot, you can upload the cluster configuration, you can upload what's happening in your Istio pods, what is the Envoy configuration looks like, what is the Istio CTL analyze, surfacing any errors. So all of that information is collected, a tarball will be produced, and you can just upload it on a GitHub issue or share it across your team members so you can easily debug and diagnose issues in your mesh. The last thing is the release notes. These links right now might not work until the release is actually published. So hopefully soon after my presentation is done, the release will be published, but I will highly recommend all the users of Istio, if they are new users who are moving to going to be moving to Istio and using 1.8, please look at all the release notes to understand the capabilities and features that have been added in 1.8. Next thing that I want to talk about is upgrade notes. So existing users of Istio, if you're on Istio 1.7 and you want to move to 1.8, it is highly, highly recommended that you read your upgrade notes before doing the migration. The community does a great job of capturing various settings that have changed, various features that might have deprecated that you are using. And we want to make sure that your upgrade and migration is as smooth as possible. And a big part of that is paying attention to the upgrade notes that our developers have produced for 1.8. I'm just highlighting 3 key things that folks should be aware of. First is Mixer is actually removed in Istio 1.8. We have been talking about Mixer or telemetry v1 being deprecated for 2 releases now. I think 1.6, we had officially made telemetry v2 as the default telemetry mechanism, but v1 was still supported. In 1.7, it was officially deprecated, and now we have removed it. So all of the users, if they're still using telemetry v1, now need to move to v2, as the v1 mechanism doesn't exist. Additionally, if you're using some Mixer adapters and the Istio community has not provided you equivalent, if there is no equivalent mechanism for you to achieve that functionality, please file bugs so we can add it back or give you a path forward. The second thing which is deprecated is Istio Core DNS plugin. So this was a plugin that was added to enable DNS proxy, DNS request interception and resolving for some specific addresses, like addresses ending in .global for multi-cluster routing. The reason so this plugin itself was not very well maintained. And in Istio 1.8, we have added the DNS interception in proxy. So we decided to deprecate this officially and move users over to the new mechanism if needed. And the third thing is a lot of Envoy filters have been deprecated. Envoy filter names have changed and the old names have been deprecated by Envoy. This means if you're creating custom Envoy filter resources, you need to make sure that you move to the new name. In Istio 1.8, I think we are supporting both old and new names, but going forward in 1.9, only the new names will be supported. So this is the release where you should do your migration. Right. So just some housekeeping items here. How do you get the release? So you can go to the latest release page in GitHub and download 1.80 once it's published. Few helpful suggestions from me. New users, I would highly recommend that you read and start with the Getting Started guide. This is the easiest way to install Istio for demo purposes or just kicking the tires. Installation guides are a very valuable tool where we explain all the different options for supporting Istio. So it will cover Istio-Sqtl or an in-cluster operator or Helm v3. And we also explain the trade-offs between them so you can make an informed choice based on your requirements. And the last is, if you are upgrading to Istio, please go through the upgrade guide. It gives you various options where you can do an in-place upgrade or a revision-based upgrade, or you can test the new version doing a canary deployment. So all of these options and resources are available to you. Read them and then move to 1.8 and give us feedback. Right, so now I have a demo prepared where I'm going to be installing Istio with 1.8 and show you how the Istio-Sqtl bug report tool can be used. But before I move to the demo, are there any questions I can answer for people?
Yeah, I have a question. So if you're using Istio-Ctl to install Istio, and maybe even you're using a canary revision, is there an upgrade path to Helm?
Really good question. Sadly, no. So because Helm support was removed and now reintroduced in 1.8, if you have used some of the earlier mechanisms to use to install Istio, currently it will be removing the control plane and installing the new control plane with Helm. You can do it in a phased way where you don't have to delete everything, but at a high level, that's what it means. Now, remember, when you are removing the control plane, if you don't remove the custom resource definitions, your resources will still remain. And then your workloads and the traffic between workloads will also continue to work. So you can do this migration with minimal downtime, but there will be some downtime for control plane.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Niraj, sorry. So the Helm is not going to be just a wraparound operator that we have?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Helm is actually, like I will demo you, is being used to install the individual charts and manage the lifecycle using the Helm tool itself.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Is this font big enough for everyone, or should I make it bigger?
It's good.
I think
Good?
it works.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So basically, I am going to follow. Hang on a minute. Let me stop my share and share. Yeah. This is the right one. Yeah, it is. Okay. So I'm going to be following the Helm guide that we have for 1.8 for installing and upgrading Istio. So just to make sure I have a high probability that my demo actually works, I have those commands in my bash script. So I'm going to copy them one by one. So first thing I always recommend when you are moving to Istio or installing Istio is making sure you have the right Kubernetes version. So in my cluster currently, I'm just going to do that. It shows me that the server version is 1.18, and that's within the supported window for Istio. So that's a good start. Next up is to make sure you have the right Helm version. Only Helm v3 supported, and specifically anything above 3.1.1 or 3.1.0. It's all documented in the Istio website as what's the support metrics for both Helm and Kubernetes. Next up, I'm going to grab the latest release of Istio. And in this case, I'm going to use this awesome download script that we have and provide it the specific revision. The revision here is 180rc.0. That's just because the official release is not available right now. Once the official release is available, you don't have to provide the Istio version here. So let me just do that. So it goes and fetches the tarball, and it will automatically untar it for me. So now, if I see in here, I have my Istio 180rc0. It's a good start. Next, I'm going to follow the documentation, and the documentation for Istio, for installing Istio using Helm. The next step is to create the Istio system namespace. So that's what I do. And then I'm going to install the charts manually. So Istio comes with many charts, which are all inside this directory. To get a minimal installation of Istio, you need to at least install 2 charts. And here we are going to go beyond that and just install the Ingress gateway chart too. So the first one is this command for installing the base chart. So the good thing about using Helm is it gives you the flexibility of managing these charts themselves. It's not wrapped around with Istio Sqtl, but at the same time, it's more commands that you have to run. So this is good. So now I have the base chart installed. Base chart is basically responsible for installing some cluster level resources. So it will create service accounts in Istio system that will be used by various Istio components. It creates a webhook configuration, validation webhook configuration for me. It also creates cluster roles, which you can see. And then if I look at my Helm command, now I have 1 chart installed, which is Istio base. Next thing, which is very important, is to make sure you have to make sure to check whether you have third-party charts enabled in your cluster or not. So this is really important because Istio Sqtl and operator-based installs automatically detect your cluster, detect from your running cluster whether third-party tokens are enabled, and accordingly adjust the chart values. Helm won't do that. So to make sure your cluster has first-party chart support or third-party, you can run this command. If it returns to you this JSON, it means you have third-party chart support. So then you can proceed to install the Istio discovery chart here. So 2 key things here. Now you're installing Istio, the Istio discovery chart. In Istio 1.8.0, you will have to provide these extra arguments, either through a values file. I'm just using a --cert command. I'm just making sure I have the right hub and the right tag. All right, so with this done, now if I go and visit Istio system, there you go. So now I have a Istio D container running, which is good, right? I can look at the logs to make sure that I don't get any errors. It's always a good same thing to do whenever you install. All right, so far so good. It did some reconciliation. It's all happy. Then I'm going to install the Ingress gateway chart. Same thing, instead of the Istio discovery chart, now just use Istio Ingress with the appropriate hub and tag. Cool. If I look now, I have 3 charts. All of them are managed by Helm. So obviously, when you delete them or as you change your configuration, Helm will automatically prune the resources, right? So that's a good thing about having lifecycle management through Helm. If I now look at the number of pods which are running in Istio system, I should see Istio D and Istio Ingress gateway as expected. So now I'm going to just quickly deploy book info and make sure that this Istio installation is actually working and I'm not just showing you something that doesn't work. So before you deploy your sample application, you have to label your namespace for Istio injection to be enabled. That's what I did. I'm going to deploy samples book info, which I'm sure all of you have seen plenty of times. So now when I get my pods, they're coming up. All of them have 2 containers, which is a good sign. That means they have the sidecar proxy injected. There you go. So now all of them are running. I'm going to apply the gateway resource so that I can reach these, reach my book info application from outside. So now that I have applied, you can see there's a gateway and there's a virtual service configured for my book info application. So I'm going to just quickly get my ingress, and then I can use this ingress to access the book info application. So I can do there you go. And to see a better output, I can just do this, I think. So this just shows the entire Helm-based installation for Istio 1.8, and then adding applications in your mesh like you always do. And you can similarly use the Helm upgrade commands to change the configuration, or Helm install if you want to go back and remove things. The last thing that I want to demo is the amazing Sqctl bug report tool. So I'm going to do this. So if this is only available in 1.8, but you can run it against an older cluster too. That's the good thing about this command. So if you look at the Helm, it shows you what bunch of options you have and what it does. But the best thing to do is just run it. So if I run this, it will print out a bunch of things that it is doing. It's collecting information from my cluster, and it is going to store everything in a nice tarball that I can use to get my cluster state and debug any problems related to mesh. So it got the control plane information, it ran Sqctl analyze, and then collected a bunch of information. So now I can see that I have a bug report.tgz. If I now, all right. So if you see, there's a lot of amazing information here. So it will run analyze, Sqctl analyze to look at your existing cluster configuration and if there are any issues with that. So it runs it on all the namespaces by default if you have not provided any options. So it is just saying that one of the namespaces doesn't have the injection label. Then if you go to the cluster level information, it just tells you the cluster context, any custom resources. So it has printed out all the Envoy filters that are installed. It should have printed out the gateway resource. So it's a very easy way to get the entire snapshot of your cluster. There you go. So these are the gateways that we applied. And obviously there is no sensitive information stored in this. So all of this information can be easily shared in a GitHub issue, for example. So it also describes various events and the pods which are in Istio system. So you get a good snapshot of your control plane. Moving forward, this is the most interesting and attractive part for me. It will go to all your namespaces, look at all the pods which have proxies, and then dump out detailed information about those proxies. So for each sidecar proxy, it's giving you all the configuration. So this is a very big cluster dump of everything that's happening in your Envoy. So you can understand whether your configuration that you've applied is actually getting enforced, if there are issues where there were conflicts and your configuration didn't get applied, or Envoy has rejected things. So it's really, really helpful. Going further, it will give you information about certificates. Sometimes it's really important to look at whether your certificates have rotated correctly. If not, you can have issues around MTLS errors or general errors related to the TLS handshake. It additionally gives you all the listener information, the proxy logs, and then bunch of statistics around the memory usage and runtime and netstat usage. So really useful tool. And also I forgot to mention, you can go into the stats and it gives you the current snapshot of all the stats. Again, you don't have to have Prometheus for this. It just queries the data from the sidecar proxies itself and gives you the current snapshot. So with that, I think my demo is done. I will encourage everyone to explore this tool, and especially if you're filing bugs in Istio, use it so that it reduces your back and forth with the community and you can quickly resolve any issues you have. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And if there are any more questions I can answer, I would love to.
Yeah, I've got a quick question. Things that used to be from the add-on area, like Prometheus, Sqctl, Grafana, do they now go in through Helm, or do they still go through Sqctl?
Yeah, really good question. So I think in 1.8, Istio community has taken a stance of the add-on management is completely to the users themselves. So they are currently moved into a samples directory to indicate that the Istio provided add-ons are not directly production ready. So like the Istio provided sample Prometheus should not be used in production. You can use a Helm chart for Prometheus if you want, or you can use Sqctl, but the lifecycle management of that is completely outside the lifecycle management of Istio itself.
Thank you.
What about the dashboards, the Grafana dashboards that are Istio specific?
I think that right now is again inside samples. So as part of the Istio release package, if you go inside samples add-ons, there's a Grafana sample, and then those Istio dashboards still are there. You can apply them using Sqctl apply. This change to move them from part of the Istio charts to the samples was just to signal that it's meant to be customized by users and meant to be made production ready by them.
I think too, we're not so worried about supporting the charts themselves as we are that we don't want to be the ones supporting your installation of Grafana.
Absolutely.
We are not
Absolutely.
experts in that space. You definitely do not want our advice in that area. There are other people who are way better at that. But as far as the chart itself, I think we would likely provide a decent amount of support there.
Yeah, the dashboard itself, you mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
I just want to say great demo, Neeraj. By the way, 1.8 just went out like 5 minutes ago.
There you go. So my links are working now. Please go and check them.
Yep.
Any other questions I can answer?
I see a raised hand from NDT. Do you want to unmute yourself? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I asked a question earlier and I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay.
How do I pass back the controls to you?
So you select, if you go navigate to participants and you click more on the right to my name, you should be able to make me a host again.
Yes. All right, done.
Okay, great. So I think now I'm gonna break out the groups into smaller rooms so that we have more opportunities for networking and connecting one-on-one. I hope that you stay with us. For these, let me see. I'm gonna create 3 breakout rooms. Okay. So you should have received a link to go to your room. Okay. And I'm gonna. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming back to the main room to say bye. And I hope that you like the time to connect on a more personal note. I wanted to thank Neeraj for presenting today. Thank you so much. And anybody who wants to present a demo, this is where I'm collecting information on the Istio Discuss. I just shared the link on the chat box. So please come forward, any application of Istio or any use case that you have that you want to show how you're using Istio. We would love to hear about that. I want to share one more thing with you all before we leave, and that is a survey. And I know we don't have most of the people here. Do we have a survey? I don't see one.
Yeah, it's created. I can drop it in.
Oh, thank you so much, Jamie. Yeah, that'd be awesome. The survey allows us to collect feedback about this event, and so we can learn what you're interested in and what is most useful to you. So Jamie's gonna share that on the chat box here. And yeah, I wanna thank you all for coming. And also let you know that in December, we're not gonna have a meetup because it's very close to the holidays. And the next meetup is gonna be in January. So I hope that most of you can join, and we'll see you again next year. Thank you all for coming, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of KubeCon if you're going to that as well. And I think
Thanks.
Jamie just shared the survey, so please take a few minutes to fill that out. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks. Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Bye.